Hi, Matthew Moody, Penrith&Solway candidate for Reform UK, and I've been asked to do a video on why the current electoral system of first past the post is so blatantly unfair, and why proportional representation is the only way to go. So let me give you a little bit of background. First of all, the way that our current voting system works in the UK is every constituency has a number of people put themselves forward as candidates, and people go out and vote on election day. Those votes are then tallied up. What then happens is the person that has the largest amount of votes is the winner. So what does this mean in practice? Effectively, what it means is the Electoral Commission are in charge of seats, constituencies, and areas. Every now and then they make changes. These changes are lobbied by and done in partnership with government and the main opposition party. So this essentially means that government and the opposition party, which could be Labour or Tory, Labour or Tory, Labour or Tory, you get the message, decide how best for the constituencies to be set up to favour them and them alone. Because they know one thing for sure. When people go out to vote and they cast their vote in an area, then the person that gets the most amounts of votes is the person that then goes to Parliament. So when you've got these very tight marginal seats where the votes, the difference can be literally hundreds of votes. A case in point being Gavin Barwell's seat in the 2015 election for Croydon, I think Croydon South. He won by something like 150 votes. 150 votes he won by. Now that is a slender majority. Well, it's not even really a majority, is it really? It's just 150 votes. But what this then means is the way that the share of votes is done is it's not entirely fair. What it means is the percentage of the vote bears no relation at all as to who actually wins, because clearly in some areas more people will vote than in other areas. In fact, in some of the recent elections for things such as town mayors, police and crime commissioners, the voting turnout was as low as 20%. And this is the other thing to bear in mind is the lower the vote turnout, it still doesn't matter. Someone could get elected with 1,000 votes if only 1,000 people turn out to vote. And this is why it becomes inherently unfair for smaller parties. So I'll give you some figures, and hopefully we'll get these on a screen or something so you can also see them as I talk about them. But so in the last election, 2019, the overall share for the Conservatives, who then formed a government, was 43.9%, which meant that they ended up with 365 seats, which you can clearly see is a massive majority of, let's have a look, 162 seats over Labour. I mean, it's staggering. It's a staggering majority. Obviously, it's slightly less because of the fact that you've got other people in Parliament and they will effectively block or aim to block laws that are put through. But then you see Labour, 32.2%, they get 203. Now, here's the interesting thing. Lib Dems, they got 11.5% of the overall votes cast. They ended up with 11 seats. But the SNP, they got 3.9% of the share of the overall vote and got 48 seats. Now, these are not members of the Scottish Parliament. These are MPs from Scotland in Parliament in the UK in the House of Commons. 48 MPs from the SNP. And you can then see my explanation of why this is so blatantly unfair. The Green Party, they got 2.7%. They ended up with one MP, which is obviously the MP from Brighton, Caroline Lucas. And the Brexit Party, because we did put some people forward when the Reform was the Brexit Party, etc., 2%, 0 MPs. Now, I haven't put on here the millions of votes cast, but the Brexit Party was a significant amount in the millions. And this is why this is so blatantly unfair, because clearly what this means is this system is always going to benefit the major parties forever. Now, what I've done is done a column highlighting what this would look like if proportional representation was in place. And clearly you can see that using proportional representation, which I believe is a much fairer way of allocating seats, essentially means that the Tories, Conservatives, would have ended up with 285 seats, much, much less. Let me come back to the grid in just a moment. Proportional representation is all about essentially the overall percentage of the share of the vote, and then what each party gets, they then send a number of MPs to Parliament. Now, people that are against proportional representation will say, oh, well, it basically dilutes the major parties. It means it's harder to get laws passed, and it means there's a lot more smaller parties running around. Well, I say good. That's a good thing. Why do I think that's a good thing? Because the major parties don't care about me or you. They don't give one hoot about us. They're not interested. They're just interested in what their major corporate backers, financial backers, or other organisations that haven't been elected tell them what to do. EU, WHO, etc., WEF, goes on and on and on. So I believe it is much more important to have a spread of parties within Parliament focusing on one thing and one thing alone, helping you, the constituent, make sure that the laws that are passed are in the benefit of you and not Parliament, because that is not what is happening right now. So let's have a little look at that spreadsheet again to show you what the difference would be in terms of if there was proportional representation in place. And you'll see the staggering difference. You know, Lib Dems is a good one just to look at. Their share of MPs that will be sent to Parliament in a proportional representation vote system in the 2019 election would have been 71 MPs. SNP, they would have lost out here because they'd have only ended up with 25. And then you've got the big news, which is down the bottom, which is where you've got the Green and the Brexit parties. And, you know, I don't agree with many of the parties' other manifesto claims. I don't agree with a lot of the things that they want to do, but I also believe in a democracy. It is fair and it's right and it's proper to have representation and people putting across opinions and ideas and views and debating them in a professional manner. Now, I'm not saying that happens right now in the House of Commons. We've seen PMQs. It clearly doesn't. But let's hope. But what this does show is the Greens with 17 seats and the Brexit Party would have had a whopping 13 seats in the last general election. 13 MPs representing views of people that wanted to vote, wanted to make sure Brexit was done and ensure it happened. Now, the major parties would still have the lion's share here. You can clearly see here, 285 and 209 for Labour. But the difference is in the overall percentages of who gets sent where and how you get there. Now, what will be interesting to do, and maybe I should do this in another video, is based on the polling predictions right now of where we are, what would happen in this general election if proportional representation was in play. And I think it'd be very, very interesting indeed. But anyhow, I just wanted to make this quick video for you just to explain the difference between first past the post, which is our current system, proportional representation, the much fairer system. Well, I believe that is what we should be moving towards. And that is very much what the Reform Party, ReformUK, is pushing as well. In the comments below, let me know what you think about proportional representation. And if you've not subscribed to the channel, please do, because that really helps us in terms of the algorithms and just people following us and being recommended to other people. And the more that we get this message out, the more I think that we can help spread the message and also open up the debate. Okay, this is Moody from ReformUK for Penrith&Solway saying bye for now.